is the Revisionary Podcast with your host, Juan Carlos. The Revisionary Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Revisionary Podcast. And as always, I'm your host, Juan Carlos. I'd like to begin this episode by wishing those of you listening from the United States a very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Now, I know that there are a lot of people, me included, who won't have the opportunity to be with their family this year on Thanksgiving due to the coronavirus, but we're all in this together. And I think it's important that we take whatever steps and measures we can to make sure that we eradicate this virus so that we can go back to some sense of normalcy and be able to gather in groups again. And I want you to know, if you are spending Thanksgiving alone, that you're not alone in actuality, because we're all in this together as one united community. With that being said, I do want to say thank you to all of you who are listening. If you've never heard this show before, the way this podcast works is we bring on guests who tell a nonfiction story about their lives in which they wish things had gone a little bit differently. Afterwards, they have the opportunity to retell the same exact story, but this time, they can change any facts or details that they'd like, and then we discuss the impact of their changes. So because Thanksgiving is tomorrow, I wanted to give you guys, something that had to do with Thanksgiving. And I thought, well, I feel like football and Thanksgiving are almost synonymous, Like, I grew up watching people go outside and on TV I watched them, and throw a football around, and definitely football is always on Thanksgiving. So for this episode, I have a special treat for you guys. We actually are bringing on former NFL player Michael Bamiro. Mike used to actually play for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he also played for the New York Giants. He was an O-lineman. So we're going to bring him on, and hopefully he'll be able to walk us through his career and tell us what it's like to play in the NFL and what it's like to be a professional football player. So without further ado, let's go ahead and see if we can get Mike on the line.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, man? How's it going?
It's going great. Thank you so much for coming on the Revisionary Podcast. We're happy to have you.
No problem. I'm happy to be here, man. Happy to support. I'm glad you called me up, man. I'm glad to be here.
So what have you been up to?
Not a whole lot. Keep myself busy, man. I've been doing a lot of training and working. I've been working with Enterprise now for about 2 years. And I also been training boxing for 2 years as well, too. Hasn't took that little detour after I stopped playing football.
So you're correct me if I'm wrong, you're a Golden Glove champion? Is that right?
Yeah, I am. The Pennsylvania State Golden Gloves champion 2019. Technically 2022 since they canceled this. I'm the defending champion. Period, the end. Yeah, there's no Golden Gloves. That makes me the champ.
Get your flex on. I see you.
You know what I mean? You got to, So that's why you see every post you see on Instagram. I got another Instagram account, by the way, separate account. Every Instagram post you see, defending champ.
Excuse me. I did not know I was in the face of royalty. My bad. Defending champ.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. How'd you get into that? Or should I leave that for a little bit later?
It's up to you. I don't mind. To be honest with you, I got into boxing trying to figure out a way to get better at football, ironically.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out a way to better use my hands, use my speed, cut weight down, started working with different boxing trainers. And they got me really interested in it. And all the training, it actually made me fall in love with the sport.
Right.
And watching it that much, took a couple amateur fights, had fun doing that. Then after a couple amateur fights, turned into joining the tournament last year and then winning for the state of Pennsylvania.
Got you. I remember I was watching an interview, I think it was with Mario Lopez, and he was talking about how he enjoyed boxing and one-on-one sports so much better than team sports because it was just you in the ring and you had it was all you. You just kind of had to defend on your strength and your abilities and that's it. Is that how you feel?
Nah. That sounds like somebody got accountability issues. No, that's not me. I love team sports, man. Don't get me wrong. I still love football. I will always love football. Yeah. But boxing, it does put more of the onus on yourself to do better and to perform, which I like that as well too. But no, you can never get rid of the camaraderie that you build playing football, man. The team lunches, the practices. You build war stories with the guys around you playing football. So no, never that.
And you were an O-lineman. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one could say that you've enjoyed getting punched in the face for quite some time now.
Not necessarily in the face, maybe the chest and the arms, but I feel like, in my time playing offensive line, I did a lot more of the punching and the hitting.
Oh, okay.
At least I tried to. At least I tried to. I ain't like I was the best in the world, but I mean, I did my best.
Yeah.
It was fun doing that, especially at the league level and in the college level. College level, obviously, Stony Brook, we were the best when I played.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
I thoroughly enjoyed watching the football games, and I'm not even a big football fan, but I remember going out there and cheering for you guys all the time because you guys were so good in my time.
Yes. We were a level above, man. We were 4-time conference champions.
Yeah.
2-time playoff appearances. We got playoff victories. 1AA is tough. It's very tough to be consistent, to keep winning. But we got it done, and we did really well for my team. I think I really believe so. I
really enjoy because out of everybody on the football team, I because of who introduced us. I probably knew you the best. But I used to love, so I always used to root for you. I used to love rooting for Miguel Masonette when he used to get the ball and watching him.
Oh boy, Miggy!
That was so much fun. And it's funny because I used to follow you guys afterwards. I don't know if I've told you this. I think I have. I remember after I graduated, I ended up going to law school down in Jacksonville, Florida. So for your first preseason game with the Eagles, I bought tickets. I was in the stand.
You were there, yes.
Yeah, I was in the stand. I was yelling my head off. I was I know him.
Oh my God. Yeah. Awful stadium. Could you believe it was an NFL stadium? That's where the Jacksonville Jaguars played. Nightmare. Thank God they revamped that. But yeah, dang, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I was there. I remember too, because it was one of those serendipitous things. I had actually transitioned. I was switching out of law school and switching to business school. So I had moved back to New York and coincidentally happened to be there that night picking up my stuff. I was like, yo, there's no way I can miss this game. I got to be there. So I bought last-minute tickets. I bought tickets 20 minutes before the game. I was like, all right, I'm going. And figured it out.
Sick. That's what's up, man. Thank you, Rose. Thank you so much, man. That is sick. That was one of my better games. I think I graded a 98% that game.
No, I remember
I was my better preseason games. So that's so funny that you say that.
Let me tell you something. I was talking so much smack up in the stands. I was like, you see that guy right there? Yo, watch out for him. Learn his name now. Yo, people wanted to fight me because I'm in the whole Jacksonville section of the stadium, and I'm talking maddish like I was an Eagles fan. You would have thought. Man, it was so much fun, though.
That's what's up, man. Thank you, bro.
No, of course. Why don't we go ahead into it? I don't want to detract too much. Mike, the stage is yours. Go ahead and tell us your story.
Simple enough. Finished high school. I'll cut that part short. I didn't do all that I could do to get myself noticed to play college football. So I went to a small school first, University of Pittsburgh in Titusville. Went there just to kind of like what you said, actually. I was actually planning on going to law school. So I went there to study pre-law first, but then after a semester, I was super heavy. And my brother was like, listen, if you're going to at least go to school just to study, at least play football to cut weight down. And I said, sure, why not? And so then I transferred back to Stony Brook that winter. And it took off from there, man. For my first season there, I redshirted, watched the guys in front of me. They had another offensive tackle in front of me at the time. The following season, the tackle in front of me he just up and quit.
Hold on.
He didn't want to play football anymore.
So you did your freshman year at one school, and so now you're talking your sophomore. What would have been your true sophomore year? You redshirted.
Yes, sir. Yep. So, because technically they thought that I still had another year to play, or maybe they didn't. I don't know. Clearly, somebody there didn't know how it was going to affect my eligibility. And moving on from there, I go there. My second, which is my true freshman year, my first year with the ability to play. Like I said, the guy in front of me just quit. So they were just left with having to play me at right tackle. And I took off from there, had a great season. We finished winning the conference title, like I said. The season after that, I was named starter. Probably had one of my better seasons. We finished out number 1 overall. We made to the playoffs that season. I got my first all-conference nod, my first All-American nod as well, too. And then thinking I'm going into my 4th season, because this is 3 years now. I think I'm going into my 4th season to play. Mm-hmm. I'm training all summer, training with the team in the springtime, training with them over and over again. Going into June, July, I go to the our athletic liaison to get, my money for student. That's what I'm looking for. looking to get the money to cover my tuition. Because I got my scholarship then. Because originally I had just walked on. I was a walk on at the time. I wasn't a scholarship guy. I was on a walk on, and then this final season I was going to get my full scholarship. And when I get there, the guy tells me, "Well, we thought you were graduating." And I said, "Well, I'm not. I'm here to play one more season."
Yeah.
And then they go into this spiel about how, I don't have any more eligibility left, and that if I really wanted to get another year, I'd have to go through different court cases, and it just seemed like, the ball was dropped on my eligibility, and when I was supposed to be playing on if I still had more time to play or if I didn't. Because if I had known that, obviously I'd have been preparing to go into the NFL, which I wasn't. I was preparing to play college football.
Right.
So, and this is middle of July. And around that time, teams had already had their mini camps, their training camps. They've already had their rookies introduced to the team. They're getting ready to come back and start the season. So I have this small 2-week window to either take NCAA to court and get another year to play, or find an agent and play NFL football. Mm-hmm. So I took the latter. And I felt like I was blessed with that opportunity that, the agent that took me on, it was a very short time, to train. And after that training session, we had an open workout for about 18 different NFL teams that came in and watched. And I went with the Eagles. And I picked the Eagles that season. I made it. Go ahead. Let
me ask you a question. So when you're going through these trainings, what kinds of, because you're an O-lineman, so what kinds of things are they looking for? Like, what are they putting you through, and how are the teams grading you?
Sure, they're looking for speed, they're looking for strength, and they're looking for change of direction.
Right.
A lot of footwork stuff. In all honesty, a lot of footwork stuff. They want to see how quick you can move your feet from cone to cone in an offensive line stance, how strong you can be in that stance, how much force you can punch with, how strong you move. Looking for a lot of that stuff. It's not really. You would think they'd be looking for strongman competition stuff, but no. These days, offensive linemen are looking for guys who are kind of like tight ends now. They're quick on their feet, quick on their toes, and they're able to get in front of the guy they're blocking. So that's really what a lot of what they're looking for. And I feel like at the time, from the training that I had at Stony Brook, I possessed that for them.
Right.
And that was the opportunity I went with the Eagles.
Why'd you pick the Eagles in particular?
It felt like I felt like my agent at the time and my trainer, they were all leaning Eagles at the time too. And the Eagles deals seemed a lot more of a better benefit for me as well too, in all honesty. Hindsight, of course, I probably would have taken more time to make that decision, but I went with the Eagles, went there, was on their practice squad for the season, finished that season, went through the next season, didn't finish through camp, then finished the rest of that next year with the Giants. Mm-hmm. And then after that season with the Giants, I sat out a year, didn't play any football, was home training, just driving myself crazy until the next opportunity came, which was playing in Canada, which I did for the following season. So
now, what's it like being on a practice team? Like, what does your day-to-day look like?
It's pretty much the same as everyone else's. to the point where when people like differentiate the two, it's almost like offensive, because at the end of the day, the practice squad guy, you're there because as soon as one person goes down, you are immediately thrusted into that position because you've been practicing that position the entire week.
Right.
We actually show up earlier than most of the guys do, because we show up with the rest of the team. We show up with some of the rookies. We show up earlier. We do all the same work, all the same training, all the same film study. We even rotate, during the sessions for, I want to say team. Like, it's easy to understand what that means, but like when you're practicing team reps like they do in the game, you're rotating them with the other offensive linemen so that you know the play, so that when you're jumped in there, it's not a misstep, it's not a miscue. You don't know who's playing next to you, Yeah. So at the end of the day, whenever you hear guys is on their practice squad, he legitimately is one play from being put on the main roster and playing because he knows everything that's going on.
And do you play scrimmages to stay sharp and keep in that game mode?
That's what team sessions are. That's what I meant when I said team sessions. So team sessions is you going against the first defense, going against the second defense, with the first offense, with the second offense, over and over again. In reality, there aren't even enough players on a roster to have a first and a second offense or defense.
Right.
If you count all the offensive linemen on an active roster, you'll probably get 6. And that's not enough to have a first and a second team. That's enough for a first team and a guy who can rotate into each position. Right. So that's why, when you have a practice squad, when they're running team scrimmage reps, you're rotating in with the first team to get those reps against what the looks that you're going to see on defense on Sundays in the morning.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this. Feel free if you don't want to talk about this. But what happened? Like you said, why did the Eagles walk away?
The Eagles situation, it was tough. I feel like it was really tough. I feel like a lot of it was I was young at the time. I don't think I was mentally prepared or physically prepared for what they were asking for. I think I might have mentally been a college player at the time. And in the second year, it just felt like it was just all weighing on me, and it's stressful. It's extremely stressful. And I feel like, was there a lot I could have done better? Of course, if I had, if I had the mentality that I have now, would it have been a lot easier? Absolutely. But it is what it is. I just didn't get it done, and that's why I wasn't there anymore.
Right. So then walk me through, I guess, or your free agency of sorts to how you got from the Eagles to the Giants. Like, what was that process like?
It was nuts. So there was about a month or two where I was in and out of workouts for different teams. Right. So I'd be flown out to a different team one weekend, flown out to a different team another weekend, worked out, we'll give you a call, worked out, we'll give you a call, worked out, we'll give you a call, but no workout was ever the same. There'd be always different stuff. Like, I literally think I did offensive line workouts in two teams that I worked out for, and I worked for about 8 teams. Other times they'll have you do 40-yard sprints, they'll have you do shuttles, they'll have you do over-the-bag drills. So within those 2 months, I was doing that, and I was like, you're sitting there losing your mind. You're like, yo, they're going to call me. Is this going to happen? You're even watching injury reports on who goes down. If an offensive lineman goes down from the team that you worked out for, could that be a thought? And that's how it always felt. And when that time came, until I got the call for the Giants, and in my head, I'm like, this is it, because it's my childhood team. Yeah. God knows I want this. Like this is going to be the one, and it worked out that way.
So it's interesting because, first and foremost, for those of you guys who are listening and have never met Mike, he's one of the nicest guys I know. So it's interesting because I guess it almost seems as if you were put into a situation where you weren't rooting for guys to get hurt, but you were rooting for them to not be there, so there was a spot open for you.
Exactly. So you're getting an opportunity to play, because that's all it is. At the end of the day, it's opportunities, man. Once an opportunity comes, then it's your time to shine, and you got to make the most of it, and that's part of why I hate playing fantasy football, because you're like, I want you to do that, but I don't want you to do that because that's messed up. But I don't want you to do as well as my guy does. but it's true, you want to perform, and you want those guys that are in front of you to not do as well. It is what it is. It's the name of the game. Right. And should I say that now, even in the field that I'm in now with my work, in the corporate world, you're like, all right, I want my office to do sick, and I don't want anyone else's office to do that great. Right. So, I guess as you get older, you understand, you gotta want that either way, so it don't matter.
Okay. So then you're playing with the Giants. How long were you with the Giants? You said half the season?
A season and a half. So I finished the rest of the 2014 season, and then midway 2015 season got released again, and then that was when I was home.
So now, how was your experience with the Giants versus the Eagles? Like, what were the differences between the two teams, or is the NFL experience more or less homogenous?
No, they're very different. They're very different. Okay. There's a reason why they call them clubs. They are very, very different. The Giants, more along the lines, I guess it was different because the Giants were in between phase when I got there. They were below 500 the season before I got there. So when I got there, a lot of parts were moving. So it's easy to be like, oh well, these guys think. Well, in reality, when things don't go well the first season, power shifts in between coaches, in between staff members, in between top office guys. So you never know who's going to be where because you don't know who the decision's coming from. Right. Whereas when I got to the Eagles, it was the Chip Kelly show. It was his team. He made all the decisions. So he had his culture set in place, and everyone followed in line. You wouldn't have to worry about it coming from the higher ups. It was always from Chip. You know what I mean? So It was very different.
So you as an individual, but also as a team, did you guys feel a sense of pressure given Chip's success with Oregon before coming into the NFL?
I don't think so. I think the guys felt a sense of pressure because, they had a rough time beforehand after losing Andy Reid. And because a lot of those guys, when I got there, those guys were all Eagle vets. You know what I mean? I got there with Todd Hermans, Evan Mathis, Jason Peters, Mike Vick. Like, there were a bunch of guys who were longtime Eagles who were like, yo, we already have this culture set in place. Mm-hmm. Now it's time to start winning. You know what I mean? So they were like that, whether they had Chip as their coach or not. I feel like those guys were already bought into what they wanted for Philadelphia, and it was sick. I think it was cool to watch. So
let me ask you another question, because I think this is interesting. Walk me through your first time you're walking into the locker room. Are you a little starstruck? What was that like?
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. So I think my dad was there too. So it's me and my pop. We're going in there to sign my contract. And we're walking in there, and I didn't pay any mind to it, but some big guy walked by me, and then my trainer at the time was like, "Yeah, that was the guy they released, so they could sign you." Which,
oh my god!
It's kind of tough to really take a look at what life was like, because he was leaving with his stuff, and I'm like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "What up?" And didn't give me any attention, and then my guy Trey, Big Trey, he was like, "Yeah, that's the guy." I said, "Oh shoot!" So then I go in there with me and my dad, and first we go sign, then they go show me my locker. And then 3 lockers away, he's Mike Vick looking at his stuff and putting his shoes away. And I'm like, oh, he's wearing a B7. I'm like, oh shit, this is real. You know what I mean? Right. There's dudes in here who have their name on their sneakers for real. And my dad was there. And after a while, my parents got super comfortable just running into random freaking NFL players and just saying hi, because the Poconos is about an hour and a half away from Philly, so they were up there whenever they could. Mm-hmm. Shout out, my supportive parents. They're super supportive. I love them. Right. But they were, my dad was there, like I said. We saw Mike Vick there at the time, and I think that was the only person that we saw. Yeah, he was the only one that we saw that day. But
right. So did you say hello or anything, or did you just kind of try to play cool?
I said what's up, and then I guess he saw my locker tag, and he was like, "Oh, what's up?" I said, "Your name's Bamiro." I said, "Jay, you're welcome to the team, man." And then went about to, I guess, go either watch film or freaking work out or whatever it was, and I'm just sitting there looking. I'm like, "Yo, my name is on all my stuff in here. This is crazy." It's such a nuts feeling to think about, but yeah, man, it blew my mind.
Okay, so I can talk about this stuff with you all day, but let's get to the next part of this. So, you leave the Giants, right? So you said you went home for a little bit. Walk me through that process for getting from being home for a year to getting to Canada.
So being home for a year sucked. It sucked a lot. Financially, I wish I was a whole lot smarter than I was. Being at home in my apartment, I was like, I'm not gonna be able to cover this. So I had to leave. Left my apartment, got into something a lot smaller, and wasn't thinking about trying to find work to keep up with the bills. Wasn't thinking about that at all. Was thinking, the next contract coming. When in reality, I should have been thinking about that to keep my neck safe. Because then after that year, I had to leave there as well too. I had to leave there, stay with my parents for a little bit, and then still training. I wasn't able to keep in touch with my agent. And it's the name of the game. When you're not wanted on the market, your agent is not going to be there as well too. Right. And as much as they want to make it sound like they will be, they make you seem like you're their best friend, but when you're not hot on the market, they're not really going to be quick to answer the phone. And at that time, young me, the decision I made, I said, hey, I need a new agent. So I found a new agent. Yeah. So I fired my agent, found a new agent. This new agent, was helped me find the new gym to train at. I'm training at this new gym, and he put the feelers out for Canadian football. And I got a call from Montreal. They called me up, flew me out there in Canada for the freaking first time in my life. Not only Canada, but freaking French Canada. I was in French Canada for the first time in my life training. Right. And this is probably the most stressful workout process ever, because we did one workout, and their front office at the time was so tumultuous at the time that they didn't make a decision on who they were going to keep till a week later. They kept me in a hotel room for a week without knowing if I had a job or not. I already quit my job back home thinking this is it. And I'm there for a week until they finally decided they were going to keep me.
Right.
Which is cool. But yeah, that was that process. It was tough. You have to be realistic with yourself, once that time hits. And I got realistic. I found a small here and there job working with windows and siding. And then I got the call for Canada and I was out.
So what was that like, playing in the CFL versus the NFL? Yes, they're different leagues, but could you walk us through some of the most jarring differences?
Heck yeah. Speed of the game obviously is way different. They play a yard off the ball, so the game in the NFL is a lot quicker, but the field is longer, which you don't really notice. And just, I don't know, just the level of the way things are done there, it's a whole lot different. It's a lot different. You're used to the NFL, you lose a sweater, you can go find another one. It ain't the same in Canada. You lose a sweater, that one's gone. You are not getting that sweater back,
Right.
And you have to be realistic with that and understand it for what it is. But at the end of the day, the pay is okay. It's not great. It's not going to be NFL money if that's what anyone's ever thinking. It's going to be good enough, but it's not NFL money. And you make it work for what it is.
Are there any so did you know anyone else who was playing in the league just from playing college ball?
Playing in the NFL when I was playing in the NFL?
Oh, I more meant the CFL, but yeah, either or.
Oh, from the CFL. Oh, yeah. It's weird. It's crazy. So when I got to the CFL, my one teammate from the Eagles who got cut the same year I got cut was playing in Montreal. BJ Cunningham, that was my dog. I think he's still playing. He's still playing there now. Yeah, that was my boy. It was crazy when I ran in. I was just said, BJ, ECO was good. My boy. Yeah, man. He was playing in Canada too.
And what is the CFL as regarded in Canada as the NFL is here, or is it one of their top leagues?
I think it is. I mean, clearly it'll never be NHL. Let's keep it real. It'll never be hockey, but they do get a pretty good turnout. I will say that. When I was playing in Montreal, mind you, Montreal shares their field with the college football team. Uh-huh. They share their field with the college football team, and they had a pretty good turnout every game. It was pretty live. It was active, but like I said, I mean, it's not the NFL.
Look, I get that. I'm not comparing. So walk me through this. What's it like when you walk through those tunnels? I mean, you've done it at different levels, so pick your favorite. You walk through those tunnels, the fans are cheering, you're getting on the field. What's your mentality? What's that like?
I mean, you're already psyching yourself up in the locker room, but as soon as because mind you, the doors are soundproof, so you don't really hear the crowd going crazy. But once you open the doors, especially for Philadelphia, holy smokes, it's deafening.
Yeah.
And your heart is racing just 1,000 miles an hour. It just gets you going. It's another world coming out of the tunnel, seeing all the fans cheering you guys, cheering us on. Rain, sleet, or snow, they're cheering, or if they're mad, they're booing. But it's another world. And college was the same way too. So when I was playing, and around the time that we were there,
mm-hmm.
That was probably the most energetic I think I've ever seen Stony Brook football ever get the crowd.
Right.
I don't know if you've been to the games as of recently. It's.
Yeah,
it is for what it is then, but it is not what we were. You know what I mean? And I do feel bad because those guys don't understand. We used to have standing room only games. It was. I remember. It was raucous, and I that was probably the most excitement that I would feel.
Can I tell you something? I remember going to those games, and it was I think it was my sophomore year going to the games. There weren't that many people there, so that would have been your sophomore year as well. Because I think we're
yeah.
Right. So I remember there weren't that many people there. But then I remember a few years later, you guys would come out in those black jerseys. Do you remember those? And every single time you guys wore the black jerseys, I was like, well, there's a funeral tonight because Stony Brook's about to kill him.
Absolutely. When we broke out the black jerseys, that was the first outright conference title we won. We broke out the black jerseys. It was a wrap.
I remember.
We are undefeated in the black jerseys. Well, my team, we were undefeated in the black jerseys.
I remember. I don't know what it was, but something would come over you guys, and it was just those black jerseys were on. You guys were not.
It was game over. It was game over.
One of my favorite moments as a fan, I remember, was I think it was against Albany, second round of the playoffs. And I want to say it was Dom
Reyes, yeah,
got that
interception in the end
interception.
zone.
Yup.
In the end zone.
Exploding. So
I'll never forget that, man. He's a legend.
yeah, I mean, shout out to Dom, if you ever get a chance to hear this. So now let me ask you this. Philly has this tradition of like, having very passionate fans. Did you get any like interesting jeers your way, or any like, can you hear the boos?
Can we hear the boo? That's all. My first few games there, that's all we did here. We were my first game there. I think we were playing the Chargers on Sunday at 1:00, and it was a sold out game.
Yeah.
We went. Our second drive was another 3 and out, and the boos were deafening. Boo! That's all you heard. Like the offense couldn't even hear the play. We were like, "Yo, what is going on? Are they booing us?" Like, and my boy at the time, Julian. I mean, he's still my boy. He's definitely still my boy. Julian tells me, I'm like, "Yo, are they booing us?" He goes, "Welcome to Philly." I'm like, "Yo, they're booing us." Like, I've never in any one of college football ever been booed by the home crowd.
Yeah.
So when I was so lost when he started booing us.
That's wild. All right, so I've been having a good time. Just like, this is so interesting to hear this firsthand, because you read interviews, but you rarely get a chance to sit through someone who's lived these things.
Right.
What if you could go back, right, and change any details or facts about your story and your career? What do you think you would have done differently? What do you feel you wish had gone a little bit different?
It's sad. As much as I loved it, I probably would not have put myself in the more stressful situation of trying to make a spot in Philadelphia, my first go around. I probably would have looked a little bit deeper into the landscape of what place I was going to. When I went to Philadelphia, they legitimately had 9 offensive tackles there trying to make a spot for 3 spots.
Right.
And it was a new coach. That doesn't add up at all. And it's a new coach, 9 offensive tackles, literally 3 guards are there. So it's like that we're all like, my first week there, I legit would get 2 plays a day.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was okay. When I'm looking at other rosters, they got 4 tackles, 5 tackles, 4 tackles, 5 tackles. I'm here with 9.
Mm-hmm. I see.
You know what I mean? So at the time, maybe if I would have looked a little deeper into it, I would have probably paid more attention to it, not taking the contract offers as to what's shining the brightest in front of me, but what's giving me more of an opportunity that they're saying, hey, we want you here so we know what'll be a better price for you, instead of thinking, hey, we're shooting for the stars at this price. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I probably would have done that. And who knows? Maybe it would have went different. Maybe not. I never want to call that. I'm appreciative for what I had anyway, but I definitely would have probably picked a different situation to go into to make sure that it would have been a little bit more of a smarter transition for me to go into as an offensive tackle.
What about the things that were a little bit more in your control? Was there anything that you would have done differently in that regards?
More in my control? I mean, obviously that was a lot in my control. That was
the day-to-day once you sign.
Oh, yeah, of course. Eat better, live better. I went, like, me and my best friend Scott, we talk about this all the time, where we would joke and say, yo, we would eat 3 Papa John's pies of pizzas and play on Friday night and play on Saturday night and still kill the team. But in reality, that's definitely not the way you should be living your life. So I probably would have, I'm on a pretty good diet plan now, which has helped me drop the weight for boxing. Uh-huh. I probably would have found a sick diet plan and would have stuck to it so that, not only with my mind in tune, but my body would have been in tune with that as well. So that definitely would have, who knows?
Yeah. No, of course. Yeah, I can see that. And so now, let's say you had gone to, say you had gone to a different team, it doesn't matter which team, you have a little more time to get more reps. I know you mentioned that, it could have gone either way, but do you feel that those reps would have been the difference into you developing and playing more consistently?
Absolutely. Not only those reps, but play style. When I went to Philadelphia, I had never played a no-huddle offense or a spread offense like that before, ever. So that whole style of offense completely was different for a guy who had just finished practicing to play college pro style football, playing spread. So that whole format of football was different for me. Philadelphia was not the way I've ever been coached to play football, but I learned a lot playing there. But the style of football would have been different. The reps would have been different. It probably would have just been a better situation for me, but it is what it is.
For those of you who are listening who don't know what those things mean, could you really quickly explain?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, so spread and sprint style football is what a lot of what Chip Kelly did in Oregon, where he'd have it'd be a lot more pass plays. The pace is a lot quicker, and your offensive linemen are in a 2-point stance pretty much the entire time. Granted, it looks like that should be easier to play, but when you want to down block and get underneath off the defensive linemen who already have their hand in the ground, you have to learn how to strengthen muscles in your legs and on your hands to come out of a nearly standing stance and block those guys. In college, I can honestly say I've never done that. Besides pass plays, I had never ran block in a 2-point stance, never had to do that. It just wasn't a style that I had done before. Mm-hmm. So that style of offense was completely brand new to me. So not only am I learning a different style of football, but I'm learning it against the best players in the world.
Right. And when you with the Giants, were they playing more of a style that you were used to?
Absolutely. They were playing a pro style offense that I knew. So at the time when I got there, it was like, it almost felt like, even like at the time the coach said, you probably should have came here first. And I'm like, yeah, probably would have been better for me to do so. But like I said, at that time, they were going through so much turnover and changeover. You couldn't afford to be learning on the job. You had to either be great or they were going to move on. And As you can see from the way the team looks now, it is a completely different team than from when I got there. And they've been constantly changing because they've been in that stage where they had to find new things to do for their team. So if that would have been my first option, it probably would have been that way. Probably would have gone to New York.
So now when you got to Canada, what was that stuff? Because you did mention that there was a difference in the dimensions and stuff like that. Was that also football that you were more used to?
No, it was spread again. It was more spread style bullcrap. I'll be honest with you. After college football, I can honestly say after the Giants, I've never seen a 3-point stance ever again. It was more the 2-point stance. A lot more passing. Not as much of the run game where I'm comfortable with, but like I said, you acclimate, you get used to it. So I got used to it. I was accustomed to that new style of offense. So that's what I did when I got there. Wow.
Okay. So you've walked away from football? Is that?
Yeah. I've retired. Yeah. I mean, I've reached my time. I've reached my limit with it. After Canada, I played a year in arena football.
Oh, what was that?
And it was so disorganized. It legitimately scared me away from playing football anymore. It was really bad. It was just bad. It was hectic. It was chaotic. Guys didn't know if the season was going to come back, and it didn't. Mm-hmm. Guys didn't know if they were going to have a team again. They didn't. Coaches weren't always on the same page with the head office. Guys would tell you one thing and then give you another. It was just a lot of chaos, and it honestly scared me away from it. And yeah, because then you'd also see guys who would be lifers for arena football, and in my head, I'm like, I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life doing this just to make regular wage, put my body on the line, for that. Like I could find another job here and do that. I did get my degree, so I'm not stupid. Right. So yeah, that's what I did. I had to step away from that.
So do you feel that it's difficult walking away from football, and do you feel that a lot of athletes have struggled with walking away from the game?
Absolutely. It's very difficult to walk away from. Listen to me now. I even have trouble saying that I stopped playing football, knowing damn well that I'm not playing football anymore. It's very difficult to walk away from football because for a long time, it's what you invest your life in. What you put your heart and soul to, what you pray for every night. You pray for that opportunity to come, and you're praying the next day is going to be the next day. It's going to be the next day. It's going to be the next day, and it doesn't come. So it's very hard for a lot of guys, and it's even harder for guys who are in it. Whenever they reach that point, they just look at themselves and they say, "Hey, this is all I've known. I don't know anything else. What else would I do if I'm not doing this?" And now I was getting to that with the lifers for arena. It's like, there are guys who just do that and then do a side job afterwards, and they just keep doing it. And in my head, I'm like, man, what am I going to do when I'm 37, 38, 39? Like, I'm not going to come back and play arena football with no 401k set up, no nothing. Like, that's not It's not happening. So,
do you feel that people who were higher picks have a lot more pressure with walking away because the organization invested more money into?
Absolutely. The higher the picks, the more money they're paid, the more it seems like they're a commodity. They're a product of that team, so they owe that team for what they put out there. When in reality, I mean, you're gambling with your body out there every single day. So you really owe it to yourself when that time comes. Yeah, you put the work in to be noticed that well, but if something happens to you out there and they're done with you, they're done with you. You're not done with your body. You have to walk home you have to wake up every day. You have to walk your kids every day. You have to be able to tell your kids, hey, I can't really play baseball with you because I can't walk. I got a bum knee,
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difficult conversation to discuss with players who are at that higher peak position because it's hard to walk away. You can't exactly walk away unless they don't want you anymore.
Right. Thank you. Because I know, we've had this conversation in the past. It seems like fans get upset. You remember all the outlash when Andrew Luck decided to walk away. Fans were legitimately upset about that.
Yeah, they were. And Tyler Frederick did the same thing this year, too. Yeah, he retired abruptly as a center for the Cowboys because of injuries. Yeah, it's not fair, because a lot of these guys, whenever they do get injured, they get hurt, their time off that they were planning to have with their family, they're spending it recovering. They're spending it going through therapy, going through surgeries. And then just when that time is done with their surgery and their therapy, the season starts again. So instead of spending that time with their family, they spend it training, and it weighs a toll on you after a while because at the end of the day, somebody cutting you open inside and putting deep in drugs just so they can do so takes a toll on a lot on the body and on the head mentally. So for guys to go through that, you got to know if you're able to know when to stop and say when. God bless you. You're able to call it and say, "Look, listen, I think my life is more important than this."
Mm-hmm.
More power to you.
That's interesting. I think it's interesting to hear from that perspective because I had never thought about it that way. It's easy as a fan to sit there and just be like, "Oh, my team just spent X amount of money and paid him this much. He owes me this." But you're right. The players don't owe the fans anything.
It's the truth. I mean, and it's tough to hear because you always hear these conversations about how LeBron is this, he's this champion because he left the team. At the end of the day, these teams don't care unless you perform anyway.
That's true.
My favorite argument is Derrick Rose got traded on family vacation.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. He got traded on a boat with his family from the Bulls because they had enough. You know what I mean? So who should you really align to? Why are you aligning to these teams? And if they don't want you no more, they don't have to ask you if you want to stay or not. They just do it. So more power to the NBA for giving their players the power to do so, to make super teams. And, the NFL should start following suit.
Fair enough. Look, I want to thank you for coming on to the Revisionary Podcast. I think this has been extremely interesting for me personally because it's a whole different perspective that I feel like a lot of people just don't get to sit down and have these conversations and hear what it's like going through it from the other end. Before I let you go, we have two traditions on this podcast. The first being, do you have is there any way you could share a quick story from your childhood that puts a smile on your face or just makes you generally happy?
Oh, that's a good question. This story that makes me genuinely happy.
Everyone has those family stories that you kind of think about. You're like, that was fun, or that's a good memory.
My first time playing junior high football. I mean, obviously it's super unorganized, and when you're a kid, you guys are just running all over the place. But that's what it looks like now. But then I felt like I was playing real football. I got a scoop and score touchdown, which was so sick. I got a scoop and score touchdown on a Saturday morning football game for no one in the stands. I thought I was the man. So
You're feeling yourself.
Back in CI football. Shout out Central High School, Long
Island. That's pretty dope. And last thing before I let you go, what was your favorite perk from your entire career? At any stop in your playing career, what was your one perk? What I mean by perk is something like, oh, I got a cool jersey here, or we had cool uniforms at this stop, or you know what I mean? Fans would say hello to me, that kind of thing.
I'll give an even cooler one. So my first year there in Philly, right? I guess Deshaun Jackson had signed a deal with Samsung, and he got us courtside seats to the Sixers Clippers game.
Yeah.
And we were in the press box, and when we walked into the press box, they had 9 Samsung Notes with the watches all lined up with our names in front of it.
What?
I thought that was the sickest shit I said, yo, I made it! I was like, yo, it's real! I was like, my dog, thank you so much. Oh yeah, it was sick. It was sick. So I had the first Samsung Note before like really ever hit the market in the Samsung watch.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Do you have any last words for our revisionaries?
Stay true to yourself. Keep pushing through no matter what. Don't let whatever goal you think you didn't reach be what you think is the goal for you. There's always something better. So keep pushing.
All right, perfect. And thank you, champ. I appreciate you coming on.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
All right, have a good day.
The Revisionary Podcast.
Wow, I think that's so cool that he had the opportunity to be in that environment and play. Some of the names that he drops are people that I remember just watching on TV in awe, and they were just right next to him. Like Chip Kelly, for example. The amount of times that I watched Chip Kelly on TV, running that dynamic Oregon offense it's just mind-blowing that Mike got to work with him on a day-to-day basis. Or the fact that he was able to name drop Mike Vick. I understand that a lot of people don't like Michael Vick because of his past, but as an athlete, it's astounding the things he was able to accomplish, especially when he was a quarterback in Atlanta. He was an absolute blur on the field. And the fact that Mike was able to just, have a casual conversation with him because they were on the same team. I think that's really, really cool. As you know, we also have a tradition on this podcast that we like to highlight a charity or an organization at the end of every episode. I thought it would be appropriate for this episode to choose Fuel Up to Play 60. It's an organization which is designed to help educators and adults structure school health and wellness programs so that students could have a healthier life and just be more active. It's a program that partners with the NFL, and they're constantly trying to get kids basically to go outside and just play and be healthy to combat some of the health issues that we're experiencing as a country. So as always, I will put the link in the description. And I want to say to all of you, again, I want to wish you guys a happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. And thank you again for listening.
This is